Gentlemen and female gentlemen, we are here back on the lore dives into the D&D universe. That's right, we're doing a tier list of every monster, every creature on in D&D. So definitely lock in. Today we're looking at giants. This was highly requested, and apparently they're cooler than just big bumbling guys. So let's see what we got.
The Giants had one of the biggest empires in the world during their peak, and they fought what was arguably the strongest military force in the known universe.
Wait, what?
The Empire of Dragons. Hell, if it wasn't for...
Oh yeah, that's right! Giants fought dragons. No, that's actually kind of diabolical now that I remember that. Right.
Giants, the dragons would have ruled the world by this point.
Damn!
And if it wasn't for the dragons,
Right, it was...
the Giants would.
Right.
Whatever happened
I remember
to this
from the,
great, glorious kingdom of giants?
Yeah, I remember from the original lore dive, there were, the dragon nation was getting really powerful, and the giants fought the dragons, like, kind of to a stalemate until the elves came around and butt-fucked the planet. That's basically what I remember.
And how come it is nowhere to be seen now?
Yeah, what happened to the giants? What did happen to the giants?
Giants have always been mystical in the Forgotten Realms, especially in the Sword Coast where most of the adventures take place.
I mean, I just thought they were big. I just thought they
That
were
is
like
because a
big
big
guys.
part of their old kingdom used to reside right here in this very mass of land. If you were to read the Monster Manual, Volo's Guide to Monsters, and the campaign Storm King's Thunder, you would know that the old kingdom of giants used to be called Ostoria. This kingdom was old. We're talking just about 30...
Whoa, these guys are cool. Like, there's a mushroom giant and a fire giant and like a ugly giant, yo mama giant. That's pretty cool, actually. I just thought they were big bumbling guys.
1,000 years old. That is before the dwarves and the elves even existed here on this planet. Now, Volo's Guide to Monsters and Storm King's Thunder are very vague as to what really happened back in those days. They tell us that Annam the All-Father created the giants thanks to Othia, a goddess spirit from the planet, and that then the giants, with the help of the gods, created the grand kingdom of Ostoria. Unfortunately, the dragons also came at around this time, and a massive 1,000-year war erupted between the two, which ended in a stalemate.
It's kind of weird how many different,
The kingdom of the giants was obliterated and only...
It's kind of weird how many different giant, like, backstories are kind of similar to this. Like, I think about the giants in Elden Ring, because I've already done Elden Ring lore. You should definitely watch my Elden Ring lore dives, absolutely. But I've already, like, when you look at giants there, like, they're like this ancient people. Like, the last giant was, like, the fire giant, right? And they were kind of killed out by the Golden Order. They were like an ancient civilization that needed to be destroyed, you know? Like it's so weird how often you have giants as like these near extinct tragic people that were incredibly powerful. Didn't they fight dragons too? Wait, hold up. Didn't the giants in Elden Ring also fight dragons? They were also like arch nemeses. Super interesting. See, but like giants like in the Bible and stuff is really not like that at all. Oh, it's because in Norse mythology that the giants fought the dragons. That was the inspiration for all this. All right, very cool, very cool.
A few scarce cities in the capital were left standing, but this is where it gets confusing if you only read Volo's Guide to Monsters and Storm King's Thunder. See, those two books keep it as vague as possible and only say that the remainder of the kingdom eventually just sort of fell into ruin, and that the capital city of Ostoria was completely encased in ice and forgotten, that nobody really knows where the capital city is anymore. It also says that Annam the All-Father essentially disowned his children.
Dude, look at these
for their
guys.
lost against
They're
the
goofy.
dragons. But many of these things don't really make any sense. How come the giants don't really know where their capital used to be? How come they just left their cities and let them fall into ruin after the war against the dragons was over? Whatever happened to all those giants? There must have been still a lot of them by the end of the war, but
that's true, because the elves, like if you think about it, the elves did their magic kerfuffle to screw the dragons, right? They didn't screw over the giants. So if the giants were the other world power, after the dragons all went insane, you would think that the giants would then just purely conquer the planet with zero interruption. What did happen to the giants?
Nowadays, they're basically going extinct. Would Annam truly disown his own children after ending in a stalemate against the great kingdom of dragons? Well, let's talk about what you're not told about Ostoria and the giants of old.
I'm ready.
Annam the All-Father was one of the first gods who took...
I mean, to be fair, the All-Father is literally straight from Norse mythology, right? Odin was called the All-Father. Adam the Allfather, Odin the Allfather. I mean, this definitely seems like it's a pretty good, like, Norse mythology reference, right? I mean, I definitely see it. And they fought dragons just like they were supposed to fight Jormungandr, or whatever the fuck his name is, that world serpent and all those guys.
It involved interest in Toril, the planet where this is all in. He actually met and ended up marrying a lesser demigoddess who manifested herself as an enormous mountain in the northern side of Faerun, in what we nowadays call the Cold Lands. This goddess was called Othia, and through this union came the very first giants. These were the first 9 giants who were essentially the primogenitors for the modern races of true giants that we see nowadays. Now, this has nothing to do with the divine children of Anam the Allfather that are mentioned in Storm King's Thunder. Those guys already existed and have nothing to do with giants at all, actually. They don't even look like giants. In any case, these 9 primogenitors were the first true giants that actually resembled all of the different kinds of giants. We got Rook, the first hill giant, Obadiah, the first stone giant, Otar, the first frost giant, Masud, the first fire giant, Nicias, the first cloud giant, Vilmos, the first storm giant, Dunmore, the first wood giant, and Lenaxus, the first titan. Once each of these giants—
Oh, a titan is a species of giant in D&D. That's interesting. Okay.
Giants came of age, Anam the Allfather built for them Ostoria, a grand kingdom for them to live on, and granted each of them a section of the kingdom for them to rule. The ocean for the storm giants, the fire mountains in the south for the fire giants, the cold barren lands in the north for the frost giants, the rolling hills for the hill giants, the underdark cave system beneath the kingdom for the stone giants.
I did not know there were giants in the Underdark. I thought the Underdark was kind of completely divorced from, like, this entire situation. All right, interesting.
The forest for the wood giants, the skies for the cloud giants, and the vast plains for the titans. Lenaxus, the titan, being the firstborn and the biggest and strongest, became the natural leader for the new race of giants. In fact, it was Lenaxus who actually built the capital of Ostoria, Voningheim, which actually translates to Titan Home in the old Jotun language. You might have noticed that I have only mentioned 8 giants and there were 9 primogenitors. Well, out of the whole batch of giants, one of them was a runt, the 2-headed giant Arno/Julian, who ultimately would go on to be called Etin, which actually translates to runt in the ancient giant language. Being the runt of the family and not as strong as the rest, Arno and Julian were never really given a space to rule for themselves in Ostoria, and for the most part were disregarded by everybody. Now, one of these giants is not like the others. Unbeknownst to Anam the Allfather, Othia wasn't very faithful, and she would constantly fall in love with the other gods.
The first of these the Hoe Giant! Of course, the Hoe Giant, bro!
Adulterous escapades created the wood giants. See, Anam actually thought that the wood giants were his children, and he treated them as such, even granting them a large chunk of Ostoria like the others. This wouldn't be the first, and certainly not the last, of her escapades. In any case, Ostoria flourished, and these giants reproduced.
Bro, what? No! This looks like a Meat Canyon creation. That's diabolical, bro.
And became a grand, true empire. For the next 4,000 years, they would live in relative harmony, peace, and prosperity. The empire was so large at the time that it covered almost half of Faerun. Here, let me put it into perspective.
These are the hill giants, like these really ugly, like Attack on Titan looking guys, or hill giants?
This is the Sword Coast. There's Waterdeep and there's Neverwinter. Now, if we expand it a bit,
Neverwinter!
The whole of the
Neverwinter's from the D&D movie. It's with the guy, with the fat guy, with the games, with the guy with the doors. I have to do more D&D lore. That's why we're doing this. We're absorbing all lore on this channel. Definitely subscribe if you want every bit of lore, all of it. Baldur's Gate, we're doing it. All the lore.
North,
and not just from D&D.
Silver Marches. This is the extent of
all lore.
Storm King's Thunder's map. Now we will expand it greatly. Now this is Faerun, what is essentially a single continent on the planet of Toril. This right here was where we were before, the small piece of land where most of 5th edition actually happens. Cholt is all the way down here if you enjoyed Tomb of Annihilation. Now, the kingdom of Ostoria,
I don't know what that is.
At its height, was this big. It basically was half of Faerun, covering as far north as you could go, and as far south as...
I mean, to be fair, they are giants, so, like, To be fair, like, they need more space, you know what I'm saying?
The Vilhon Reach. Everything else at the time was basically dragon territory as far as the giants were concerned. But then the 1,000-Year War happened, the war between the giants and the dragons. Not much to say about it though, because we don't really have much about it. All we know is that there were no front lines, no safe places, the entirety of Faerun was basically open warfare, and no place was free from the war. We know that it started with some rough skirmishes here and there for territory, but then it escalated into a sort of world war. At the end of the 1,000-Year War, both sides were completely destroyed. Ancient Dwarvish records dictate that the dragons sued for peace as they were preparing for a massive civil war between the metallics and the chromatics. But the ancient...
Right, we have to do more dragon lore. We covered the copper dragons and also like the basic timeline, but that's not enough.
Giant ballads say something else. They say that to end the war, Anem the Allfather and Garrix the Dragon God decided to, instead of prolonging the war, that they would have a contest to decide it all.
Based? Oh my god,
played a match of War-Re,
that's
a tabletop
crazy.
game.
They're no game, no lifing this shit. That's wild. They're playing chess to see who will win the war, Based.
Game said to have been created by the gods, and whoever would win this game would win the war. The match ended up in a stalemate, and as such, the war simply ended, with both sides simply just stopping their attacks. The kingdom of Ostoria was in ruins, and like I mentioned before, only a few cities were left, including the capital, Voningheim. Now, believe it or not, this is actually where it gets crazy. See, Anem wouldn't disown his children at the end of the war. I mean, why would he? He literally just saved his children by having the context with Garrix.
Right.
See, what happened was, Othia betrayed Anem. Close to the end of the war, Othia...
A woman betraying her husband. This is diabolical.
Once again, sneaked over to romance another god. A minor ocean god named Illutiu, whom she had children
Complete and utter betrayal
with. These children are what we nowadays call giant kin, basically pseudo-giants. This is where the Fairborn...
That's the giant kin. The giant kin are because the original Allfather's wife hoed out and adulterated herself with these other fucking guys and created these like bastards. Quite frankly, the giant kin are all bastards.
And the Veerbag and the Fomorians.
Oh, they're ugly as balls. Look at them. Look at these guys.
The wood giants who were already in play. She had previously cheated with this guy
what a
way
bitch.
Before. But then on top of that, it also came to light that Othia already had an affair with another god named Vaprak.
Bro! She be a generational hoe. Nah, that's crazy.
Lesser god, and from their union had come the ogres. So
the ogres are bastards too. They're bastard giants. Oh my god, dude, that's diabolical.
Suffice to say, Anem was furious discovering all of this.
Literally grounds for execution. Okay, bro, you out there hoed around making trolls and shit, and ogres. That's crazy.
His anger, he personally came down to Toril and killed Illutiu. Illutiu, however, had a magical pendant in
Illutiu's the guy, the ghost, the water god that had sex with his wife. Based, honestly, if you're married and someone, you know, fucks your wife and you kill him, I literally have no hard feelings towards you. No hard feelings. I'm not saying like I support extrajudicial punishment and stuff, but again, personally, like we're good, like on a personal level. But I don't support it. I do not support it. All right, to be clear, but we're good, like on a personal level. But I don't support it. In fact, I urge people to not go and kill people as much as possible. I do not support violence, but specifically. Okay, anyway.
Its neck that could not be controlled upon its death, and it started freezing everywhere around where the lesser demigod of the ocean had died.
Oh, damn.
This magic became stronger and stronger, and without Illutiu to control it, it slowly started freezing everything around it for miles until it became dozens of miles, and then until it became hundreds of miles. This is where the Sea of Moving Eyes actually came from.
Oh, because he killed the demigod. Interesting. Because the Allfather got mad that this dude fucked his wife, and then he killed the demigod and turned half the continent into ice.
Where the Endless Ice Sea came from. See, north of the spine of the world was actually pretty good, solid, normal land. In fact, a big chunk of the kingdom of Ostoria was actually all around that area north of the spine. But the ice started to slowly take over the land, destroying everything in its path, until it became this. Now, back to the story. After just killing Ilutiu, Annam the All-Father was adamant that he wanted to create another giant son. A son who would be blessed by Annam and would unite all of its brothers and usher in a new age for Ostoria. A son who would rebuild the Empire. Annam came to Othia to have this child, but Othia refused. See, she loved the minor god of the ocean, Ilutiu, who Annam had just killed, and so she refused, but Annam wouldn't take no for an answer. He basically forced Othia to have his child, but of course this angered her even more. She gave Annam an ultimatum, saying that she would give birth to this baby giant before it was fully developed, and would let the ogres destroy the baby limb from limb unless Annam were to leave Toril and not come back.
Bro, these bitches are all crazy. They're all crazy. Like D&D lore was like, and there, like the good old days of D&D lore was, and there was a man and he wanted to father children and create peace. And then there was the hoe. She was out there having sex with water spirits and tree spirits and threatening to abandon her own child to get it torn to shreds by ogres. And it's like, what are we doing? Oh my god, that's diabolical. What's going on?
She said that he could come back only after this new baby of his would rebuild Ostoria and call his name, but until then he could not return, and this Annam the All-Father accepted. Now at this point, the eyes from Ilutiu was expanding, and the way it was going, it was going to completely destroy the remainder of Ostoria, including the capital, Voningheim. Lenaxus, the first Titan, called upon all of his brothers and many of the giants that were left from the kingdom into the capital to devise a plan in order to stop the eyes, for they had discovered that it was the amulet of the dead god that was creating the eyes. But Othia forbade them from stopping the eyes.
Do you understand how insane this is, bro? You understand how crazy this is, dude? The giants, the Allfather's wife, who is the mother of the giants, cheated on him with this dude who the Allfather killed. Now, this is creating a ripple effect, freezing the entire country. The freeze, and it's killing all their people, freezing the country. The giants are like, yo, we gotta stop this from happening. Okay? And the mom who hoed around, all right, forbids them from stopping this ice age that's killing all of their people because she still loves the adulterer who was killed by her husband. Bro, this is some Game of Thrones shit. What am I looking at?
Figured
suicidal
this was
empathy, bro.
Rightful vengeance,
Oh my
and
God. This is crazy.
Ostoria should be destroyed. Because of this, Lenaxus changed his plans and devised a plot to poison Othia and kill her, but the plan backfired. Instead of just
Bro wanted to poison his own mother! This is crazy!
killing Othia, the Titan Lenaxus ended up killing all of his brothers as well, except Arno and Julian, the first.
How do you make this mistake? And now I will poison my own mother. And he accidentally kills all of his siblings except for 2! Bro, this is the worst family drama of all time. It's like, right, so the dragons and the giants were at war. How did the dragons die? I don't know, secret elf magic. All right, whatever. How did the giants stop? Well, the mom hoed around and then they all killed each other.
First Etten and Dunmore, the first wood giant. So essentially, everyone in the capital was essentially murdered on accident by Lenaxus, and Othia was killed as well, but not before cursing Lenaxus. On her deathbed, she cursed the Titan by saying that should Lenaxus leave her shadow.
So the mother died, cursed the remaining... This is her son that she is cursing. Oh my God.
He would lose his immortality. This essentially forced Lenaxus and the rest of the Titans to leave Toril and instead go to the heavens of Arborea and never return, because if he were to return, he would then lose his immortality. Keep in mind that all these firstborn giants were completely immortal, and their sons would live for thousands of years. Every single time there is a new generation of giants, those giants live less and less as the blood of Annam gets diluted. In any case, the capital city of Voningheim was deserted since everyone got poisoned and the Titans were forced to leave. And with nobody to stop the encroaching endless ice from swallowing the city was overtaken by it and buried under layers and layers of ice.
Yeah, no one can stop it because the mom, Ho, decided that no, you can't actually stop this. You have to let it kill everyone because she still loved the adulterer that her husband killed.
This was also the case for the rest of the kingdom of Ostoria. With no one to stop the ice, it eventually consumed the entirety of the remaining kingdom.
Wow.
Nowadays, it is said that all
and that's how the entire kingdom got wiped out. Because the dad killed the adulterer and the mom prevented the son from stopping the ice that was coming from... Dude, that's insane. This is absolutely diabolical.
Left in Faerun are about 500 giants of each kind, so about 500 hill giants, 500 storm giants, etc, etc. From one of the biggest kingdoms in the world to almost going extinct, and those who did survive were the ones that were completely isolated at the time. Crazy. Now you might be asking, so what ended up happening with the last son of Anam the All-Father?
True, with the new hoe. That is the question. I was going to ask that as well. However, I also wanted to know, wouldn't the ice giants at least be able to chill out in this gigantic ice scape? Wouldn't that be like kind of good for them? The one he forced into Othia at the end. Well, eventually he actually ended up coming out, though he came out a runt. He was only 12 feet tall, whereas the standard giant can go as big as 25 feet tall. Because of his really short size, the other giants didn't really believe. After all of that, with where he the All-Father guy left and vowed to be with this new lady, came out like a midget giant. That's crazy. Him to be the savior that was promised, and they rejected him. His name was Heart Killer, and he went from tribe to tribe, town to town, trying to gather the support of his giant brethren, but they all turned him down because of his size. Racism! Instead, he ended up gathering the support of the pseudo-giants, and with their help, he attempted to rebuild Ostoria, but this time, instead of it belonging to true giants, it would belong to giant kin. This didn't really work out. The bastards took over. Bro, this hoe ruined everything. As the true giants fought him. Heartkiller ended up fighting the king of storm giants in a battle that lasted 100 years. Holy shit. And in the end, both killed each other. So the All-Father leaves his nation. He leaves his nation to have a kid with this other lady that's supposedly going to be the savior. They have this kid, Heartkiller, who comes out as a runt that none of the other giants respect. Dude ends up beefing with the storm giant and they kill each other. Bro, no, this is the saddest ending of all. The answer is stop hoeing around. The solution here is, if there wouldn't have been no hoeing, none of this would have happened, all right? All right, traditional family values strike again. It was here at this precise time that Anam decided to disown his children. He had gone out of his way not just to save them, but to create for them a glorious king. He did everything. He did everything he could. He did everything he could. Everything. And all it took was one hoe. This is diabolical. Would lead them to victory and rebuild Grand Ostoria. And what did they do? They rejected him and killed him. This was the last straw. Upon the death of Heartkiller, a shadowy spirit appeared to every single giant in the vicinity of the Vale where Heartkiller was killed. The spirit told every single giant in there that they had done fucked up, and that from this moment forward, their punishment for rejecting the will of Anam was that they would have to suffer the kingdom of the humans and the elves. But it also told them that the punishment would not last forever, that one day a young king born of Heartkiller's bloodline would resurface, and that he would establish Ostoria. So there you have it, the reality. And that's the prophecy for the giants. The giants do have a future. Eventually, a young king will be born from the bloodline of this child that you killed. Heartbreaking. Dude, this was actually sick though. Of this entire story is that Anam the All-Father technically hasn't disowned his children, but instead is compliant. Their punishment is that they are going to be forced to suck it up and serve humanity for generations. Oof. Lying with the promise he made Othia, where he is essentially barred from interacting in any way with Toril until the moment his new son is born, creates a new Ostoria and calls his name. A process that, of course, would last for tens of thousands of years since, well, that son hasn't showed up yet, and it has been close to 10,000 years since all that happened. Damn. And until then, the giants will suffer the consequences of their actions. That was sick. That was absolute cinema. Like, I'll be real, I thought giant lore was kind of going to be cringe. Like, when I came in here, I was like, all right, so this is going to be the lore. The giants are just kind of big guys, and they bumble around, and they're big. Turns out there are a Game of Thrones level story of deception, backstabbing, and bullshit. Generational wars against the dragons. You know, dude, I'm struggling here. I'm really tempted to put them in S tier. I'm really tempted to put them in S tier, dude. I think I'm gonna put them in A tier though. I think ultimately they're gonna land in A tier because personally they're not interesting so much from a physiological perspective, but the mythology is absolute cinema. So I'm gonna put them in A tier. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed. I did too. The giants are cool. They're really. What can I say? I think they're really cool. They're really cool. They're a really cool flavor to add to the D&D universe. And let me know future stuff you want me to see. Stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.